Welcome to the Scoop Educational Masterclass brought to you by the National Association of Nutrition Professionals. Your host is Andrea Nordling, the NANP's Educational Program Specialist. The information presented in this masterclass is for educational purposes only. Please note that holistic nutrition professionals do not diagnose, prevent, treat, cure, prescribe, manage, or heal diseases or medical conditions. They are also not licensed in any state and work with clients, not patients.
Hello there, my NANP friends. I am so excited to be recording this video for you because it is going to make you money and it is going to get your clients way better results when they work with you. Big promise, but I am going to deliver on that. If you've ever had the thought, oh my gosh, I just wish my clients would refer me. They tell me they're getting good results, but they're not sending me referrals. Well, we're going to fix that. The framework that I'm going to dive in with you today is going to be the solution to that problem. Now, if you have a little bit different problem, which is that your clients start out strong and then they completely fall off or they stall out or they just silently disappear and they ghost you, then this video is definitely for you as well because we are also solving that problem. So you may think that I'm about to dive into some sales or marketing stuff to solve the lack of referrals or the client retention problem, but no. That is not what we are actually talking about today. We are going to start with the part of the process that's actually causing them to ghost you or to fall off track and not get results, which is you not having a well-defined client journey. That's what we're going to create together today. We're going to hold hands and do it together, your client journey. Okay. I'm going to teach you how and why this is such a valuable use of your time. I'm going to come at this knowing that your brain might have some resistance to doing something called a client journey because it might sound really hard and it might sound really tedious. And I know those are thoughts that I have, that I get a lot of resistance in my brain to doing things that sound hard and tedious. So let me just preface this by saying I'm going to teach you how and why to do this. We're going to do it together. But at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a shortcut to executing all of the things I'm about to teach you in just a few minutes. Instead of it taking a few hours or a few days, it's going to take just a few minutes using a free tool that I created just for this masterclass, just for you. Okay, but first, let me introduce myself. You may not know who I am. Why am I here? Why am I talking to you? My name is Andrea Nordling. I am a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I'm the founder of The Profitable Nutritionist. That is where I get the pleasure of helping holistic nutrition professionals just like you to grow a very profitable practice, one that gets to make a huge impact on the world, and one that gets to help a lot of people, but it doesn't burn you out along the way. Since 2019, The Profitable Nutritionist has helped thousands of practitioners to start and then grow their businesses through our various programs. Our approach is very simple. It's very doable, which is what you are about to find out. We don't rely on social media algorithms. I don't even have social media, by the way. We don't rely on constant content creation to grow your business. We don't rely on unsustainable marketing methods that are going to absolutely burn you out and make you miserable in your business. We don't have any slimy sales tactics, nothing weird, just nothing salesy, okay? We keep things very, very simple to grow your business. And one way we do that, an example of simple, is doing boring work, like mapping out your customer's journey when they work with you, okay? Obviously, you can tell that I think that this can be a little bit boring. I'm going to make it as fun as possible, I promise. But here's the thing that I know after 20 plus years as a business owner and helping well over 1,000 health and wellness professionals make a lot of money at this point, the boring work gets results. It does. Results for you, like making way more money in your business and getting way more referrals, and results for your clients, like them blowing their own mind with the massive transformation that they get in a very short amount of time when they work with you, which is why all of the referrals will then come in. Okay, so all of that to say, the boring work in your business is worth it. Like I said, my hope is to make this boring work less boring whenever possible, which we're going to do today in this topic of isolating and defining and figuring out and strategizing, all of that together, your client journey, aka your client process, broken down into 4 stages: onboarding, activation, retention, and then renewals and upsells. If you have no idea what any of this means and you've never thought about it this way, you are about to. I'm going to make it very simple, but this is going to be very profitable for you, okay? This is going to increase results in your business, but it's also going to have your clients getting way better results so they don't fall off and they don't ghost you ever. which is why this is so important. So let's do this. So before we dive in, I want to give a little bit of context here. I'm feeling like, I need to give a little disclaimer. If you are brand new in your business, this is going to be great to think about in the back of your mind, but don't spend too much time on it yet, okay? You got to get paying clients into a process before you make a perfect client process and make it a well-oiled journey for them. By the way, that is exactly what I help holistic nutrition professionals do in my paid program. I will give you all the details on that at the end. Don't worry about it yet. But know that if you are a more established business owner, if you have more clients and you have more experience, but you're not seeing the revenue and the referrals that you want in your practice, going through this process is really going to be such a good use of your time. So I'm going to quit selling you on it now, and we're just going to get into it. All right. All right. So like I said, this work may feel tedious. All right. But it is the most leveraged thing that you can do in your business. Leverage means using your time and your resources well, okay? And the reason that it is so important and like such a good use of your time is because this is going to be what fuels referrals coming back into your business long term. This is what is going to ensure that your clients have a winning the lottery experience when they work with you and tell everybody about it. So I just want to be so clear. This is really a good use of your time. It's probably not going to feel like a marketing activity. It probably isn't going to feel like a sales activity. And for that reason, your brain may really resist doing this work, but don't skip it, okay? In fact, your brain may not want to skip it, may not have resistance. One of two things is probably happening. If you are like me and you do not love details and you're a big picture person and you are a visionary and you just want to move a million miles an hour, you probably don't like slowing down and attending to these types of details. This is me 1,000%. I resist this so much. My brain gives me so many excuses when it comes time to get things done. It's like, nope, we are not going to do this now. Now is not a good time. So if that is you, if you resist the details, if you resist slowing down because you just hate minutia like this, hey, let's commiserate. I totally get it, but this is going to be a really good use of your time. If you are the opposite and you love the details and you love really getting in the weeds and getting very specific about detailed things, and it's harder for you to move forward and take action because you want everything to be perfect and you want to understand every aspect of what you're doing on such a deep level, then you're going to be encouraged to move quickly through this. Know thyself, all right? But all that to say, our brains will have resistance one way or another. It's totally fine. It's to be expected, but we can do hard things, okay? So either you're going to move faster than you want to, or you're going to slow down when you don't want to, but this is going to be a really good activity for you, okay? And the reason it matters, like I said, is because this is going to ensure that your clients get better results when they work with you. This is going to ensure that you don't overwhelm them, but also they're making measurable progress and they feel every step of the way that they are making progress. We're going to get to that in a second. Most of the time, when clients aren't feeling like they're making results and that they're not making progress, it isn't because they actually aren't making progress. It's because they don't realize they're making progress. It's because they feel overwhelmed. It's because they are confused about the process. They don't know what stage of the process they're at. And so we, as the business owners, have this responsibility to our clients to make it a really good experience where they see how far they've come. That's our job, is to help them make progress and to show them the progress that they've been making. Again, that is why we're going to do this exercise together, and I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. So don't worry, all shall become clear. But I want to set the stage for this with a little bit of reasonable expectation that you might have resistance to doing it. You might have resistance to planning ahead in this way, and it is possible that your business isn't at the point where you really need to do this. So I also want to call out, if your business is at the very beginning stages and you haven't worked with very many clients yet, I want you to still watch this masterclass. I want you to still go through this video because it is going to be good to have these concepts in your subconscious mind and to be thinking about it for the future, but you don't need to spend a ton of time creating a really detailed client journey when you haven't had clients yet. Your time needs to be spent on getting those initial clients. Those of you that have had a lot of clients or enough clients that you can see, oh, they're falling off sometimes. They're ghosting me. They're not getting the results that they want to get. I feel like something is a little bit broken here. I'm not getting as many referrals as I want. If that is you, then this is going to be a really, really good use of your time. Buckle in, okay? Because clarity in the process that you bring your clients through is going to increase their perceived likelihood of success. So they are going to feel much more confident that it is possible for them to get the big results that they want when they're really clear on the process. So we are slowing down here and we are really dialing in your client delivery process through their journey in these areas: the onboarding, the activation, the retention, and the renewal and upsell. Okay. But the thought process in each of these stages, though what you are doing in each of these stages, and we're going to go through them one by one, though what you are doing in each of these is different, the thought that you want your clients or your customers to be having every step of the way in each of these stages is, I can do this. Okay, so that is the thought that we want them to have. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Look at me. I'm doing it. I can do this. Okay. So that is the experience that we're creating here by going through these stages and by really dialing in your client journey. So let's get into it. I've given all the preamble. I've sold you on why this is important as a marketing and sales activity, but also as a client delivery activity. So let's get in. What the heck does onboarding mean? I think most of us know what onboarding means, but I'm going to come at this from a little bit different angle for anybody who is watching this and thinking, I've never thought of it this way. And I work with a lot of people that say this, so I feel like I can make this generalization. A lot of health and wellness practitioners think, I just want to help people. I just want to help people. I don't love the business side of it. That part confuses me. I'm not great at that. I love helping people. And so you probably have an onboarding process that you bring your clients through to help them, but you probably haven't thought about it from a business lens before, and in how this increases the customer lifetime value and the profitability in your business while also setting your clients up for success. So that's kind of, if I was making a Venn diagram here, that's the intersection that we're going for in this video, is how do you do them both at the same time? Because that's exactly what we do when we have a really dialed in client journey, starting with onboarding. In the onboarding phase, obviously you are onboarding the client, you're bringing them into your business, into the process, into the offer that you sold them. And this is where you want to very strategically be reassuring their purchasing decision. So you thought probably that I was going to say in the onboarding phase, we are going to set them up for success and we're going to give them all the next steps. And yes, you are going to do that, but you are most importantly here reassuring their purchasing decision, the investment that they just made. Okay, and this is because of human psychology and buyer psychology. This isn't exclusive to health and wellness businesses, but this is just selling in general. There's a 72-hour window. It's very well documented. 72-hour window post-investment, post-payment, post-purchase, where we as humans with human brains can get a little regretful of our purchases. This is where we start to second guess ourselves and we think, oh my gosh, was that a good idea? Should I have done that? Oh, I don't know. Wishy-washy. So our job as the business owner is to know that this happens. This is totally normal. We do this as consumers, and our clients do the same thing. So knowing that, we are going to set up an onboarding process that takes it into consideration, and within that first 72 hours, hopefully sooner, but for sure within the 72-hour window, is going to absolutely reassure that new client that they made an excellent investment, that this purchase that they just made was a great decision. So you, as the business owner, have to decide how you are going to do that. How are you going to make it and have that feeling be, I can do this and this was a great decision? How are you going to engineer that experience? And again, I preface this entire workshop by saying, we're going to get into the details here. We're going to take some time and we're going to use our big brain and we can do this. I have a tool at the end that's going to help you do it, but first we're going to do it manually together. Okay. How are you going to give them that reassurance that this was a great decision as quickly as possible? One way, I'll offer some suggestions. I've seen this done lots of different ways, but also you may have a completely new way, in which case I would also love to hear that, by the way. So please email us. I'll give you our email at The Profitable Nutritionist at the end. I would love to hear it. But how do you do that? Are you going to surprise and delight your clients? This is one great way to do it. Have some element of something surprising that happens to them right after purchase that they weren't expecting, that has them think, oh my gosh, I'm so well taken care of. Oh my goodness, this was such a great decision. Oh my goodness, I really can do this. Oh my goodness, they've thought of everything. I really am set up for success here. How are you going to do that? Okay, well, some of my clients have like done this work, and we've done this together, and they have put a lot of time and attention into figuring out how they can create a really big surprise and delight experience right after payment. And this can even be automated. Sometimes it's manual, sometimes it's automated. Don't get lost in the details there. You just have to figure out what you are going to do, first of all. And they do this with test kits that are ordered, because for those of you that are watching this that do some sort of lab testing, that is a component of the onboarding process that they have to get the information on. How are they going to do the testing? What's the next step? What does that look like? And so I'm going to get to that in a minute about how to over communicate next steps and make it less overwhelming. But in this phase where we are surprising and delighting the new client in their journey, this is an opportunity where you can do it with your test kits, okay? So if you do lab testing, you can send an immediate email or text or follow-up of some, or even a photo. I have a client that does this. She actually takes a photo of the test kit that's all packaged up for them, and she texts it to them, and she says, hey, just wanted to let you know this is out in the mail today. You're going to be getting it in blah, blah, blah days, and I put a little something in there for you. Can't wait to get started. Something like that. Like, this doesn't have to be that complicated. It's probably something you're already doing in your onboarding, but you can kind of frame it as a surprise and delight moment and systematize that in the delivery of the onboarding experience so that your client has that feeling, oh my gosh, I can do this. This was a great decision. Remember, all roads lead back to that thought. I can do this. This was a great decision. Would be really repetitive about that, which is kind of meta, because I want you to be very repetitive with your clients in this time frame, especially as well. Okay. So that's one way. If you do a testing, or if there's a next step that requires you to send something, make that into a surprise and delight experience, okay? I have a client that does this really well with some extra little tools that she wants her clients to have. So she has found that it is very helpful for her clients to have a food scale and a very specific cookbook that's her favorite cookbook, and maybe a couple other things. So when somebody pays her, she doesn't tell them this is coming, but when somebody pays her, she has a surprise and delight moment where she goes onto Amazon and she puts together a little care package that's going to be sent to them and delivered within a day or two that has these items in it that she wants them to have. So she puts in the order, and then she sends them, I don't know if it's via email or if it's via text, however it is that they've been communicating up until that point, she sends them a like, hey, just wanted you to know, I know that you're going to be so successful. I ordered you and I'm not even saying this well, she does this beautifully, but she's like, I ordered you a few little extra tools that I know are going to really set you up for success. Can't wait to get started. Looking forward to our first call on blah, blah, blah day, or looking forward to our whatever the next step is. Okay. So that's another example of just like a little something extra. So these clients get that. They weren't expecting it. They weren't expecting a gift from her. They had no idea that was coming, and they feel like, oh my goodness, this is so simple. All I need to do is get to the next meeting, the next step, the next whatever that is. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And she's so thoughtful. She has thought of this. This experience is going to be so simple for me. I can do this. I can really do it. This was a great decision. So you can see where I'm going with this. I have other clients that do this with like a really lovely welcome email, or a PDF roadmap, or a timeline of what they can expect, and a welcome and something like that. Something just very, I don't know what the word is, like something a little bit extra, okay? You're probably already doing this, but could you do it in a way that adds a surprise and delight element to it? Depending on your offer, maybe it isn't cost effective in your profitability for you to be sending actual physical goods. Although that's something interesting to think about. If you increased your price a little bit, could you do that? Because it works really well. People love getting packages in the mail. Then that's just a fact. You could just take that to the bank. So that could be an element of it, but you can also do this with a very specific welcome email or a PDF something like that too. I see clients do this, works really well. You can do a handwritten note or a handwritten something. It just may take a little bit longer to get there, and then they won't know that it's coming. So remember, we are trying to leverage the 72-hour window where we are reinforcing the purchasing decision. So when you are thinking about this surprise and delight element, should you choose to include it, have it be something that they're going to see sooner than 72 hours, okay? Also, in the onboarding phase, we're going to move past any surprise and delights, because I know your wheels are turning on that. We need to use the onboarding phase as a recalibration to set expectations with this client on communication and the roadmap and the process and what's coming next. Okay, this is where you are going to define success with this client. And I also want to take a little pause here and say that everything I'm talking about applies regardless of how you support your clients. So I'm coming at this thinking most people that are going to be watching this video support clients one-on-one. which is fantastic. Everything that I'm saying applies, but it also applies. These principles apply and can be leveraged in group programs, in workshops, in any way that you support clients. Okay, so any offer that you have, you can be thinking through, okay, what is the onboarding process? How can I surprise and delight them? How can I reassure the decision that it was a wonderful investment? How can I give them the thought, I can do this? Okay, still be thinking about that regardless of what your offer is. But as I talk through these phases, I will assume that you are probably taking one-on-one clients, because most people do, especially in the beginning. And so I will be using those examples, but just know that they work for any type of offer that you have. All right. So onboarding is when we are going to define success with the client. What outcomes do they want? You may already know this from having a discovery call with them or from other conversations, but we want to really solidify this in the onboarding phase and make it official. Make it for real, okay? What are their goals? What outcomes do they want? What are the big results? The little ones, the ones that are a little bit bigger, oh my gosh, if you could absolutely blow your mind with results, what would that look like? Take note of all of this. Get them thinking about what could be possible. Again, this is in service of the rest of your process, which we're going to get to, but also it is going to be so useful for them to be reassured in the decision that this was a great investment that they made. Okay, it also creates clarity about where they're going so that you can steer the relationship and the process further to make sure that they accomplish those goals and that we're measuring them. Again, we're going to talk about that in a second. But this is your moment to define success with the client. What outcomes do they want? Reflect it back to them. Talk about it. Explore it. Come at it from, different angles. Be really curious about it. This big North Star, whatever their biggest goal is, their biggest why, this is what you are going to track progress on and then work toward this goal continuously. So the rest of your process is really going to be dependent on you knowing what success is for that client. Then you are going to set expectations here on what the process is going to look like. You're going to remind them every step of the way what the process is going to look like. Again, this can feel really repetitive if you've already had a discovery call with this person and you explain their process and you're thinking, well, they know. We've already talked about this. They know what the process is. Let's get to work. They don't remember, okay? They don't remember everything about the process. They don't remember every nuance of what was going to happen and when it was going to happen and what the cadence was going to be like and how they communicate with you. They don't remember. Assume that they remember nothing, and this is your reset phase in the onboarding for everybody to get on the same page about what it's going to look like in this experience, when this container, whatever you want to call it. This is where you also can set expectations about communication preferences. So when I was outlining this and I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about, I was reminded of a conversation that I had with a client of mine who was putting a lot of effort into her client journey, and she was killing it with the client journey. Like, she had thought of every detail. She was like, this is incredible because they are having surprise and delight. The referrals are coming in. They're getting way better results. Like, it's so good. She said, but there's one part of this that I'm really stuck on, which is how often I follow up with the clients. She's like, I'm not finding a cadence that works for everybody. Some people really want me to check in regularly with them, and the accountability is really important to them and they really value that. And then there's others that I'm getting the feeling like they don't really want to be bugged as much, or like I am bugging them when I follow up with them, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it all work in the middle, and it's just frustrating. I was like, okay, well, let's look at the onboarding process and let's have part of that process and part of the script. I don't know, a script that you bring it through, whatever it looks like in your conversation when you're onboarding your clients, whether that's written, whether that's a conversation. Hopefully it's a two-way conversation at this point. If you're doing one-on-ones, especially, ask them. This is what I suggested to my client. I was like, well, hey, let's just ask them. Like, have that be part of the intake. When you say, listen, some of my clients want me to check in regularly. If I don't hear from them, I'm happy to do that. Others prefer to kind of take the lead and reach out just when they need something. Which would you prefer? I know you're a grown-up and I want to make sure that I support you in whatever way is best for you. What do you want that to look like? Have that conversation, okay? So that you know from the very beginning what their communication preferences are. Now, maybe this isn't a problem you've ever had before with clients and you're not worried about it at all, but I bring it up as an example, in which case then don't even worry about that. But if this is something that comes up for you where you think, oh my gosh, if I haven't heard from them, am I supposed to bug them? If you have any of that drama, this is a great opportunity to get on the same page about the communication preferences of that client. Now, I'm not saying that you should completely change all of your standards of how you work in your business and all of the boundaries that you have to accommodate everybody's preferences. But I think a reasonable conversation here would be great for a lot of people. It removes the guessing game later, and it builds trust immediately with that client that they are going to be able to contact you within reason, within whatever boundaries you set when they need to. It also helps prevent ghosting and confusion later in the retention phase, which we're going to talk about. Okay, so bottom line here in your onboarding is you are strategically thinking, how can I reinforce the belief that they made a great purchase decision and that they can do this? How do I do that? Through maybe some surprise and delight, maybe through the very simple onboarding process I'm going to bring them through where I show them their very next step, and I'm not going to overwhelm them. We're going to talk about that in the activation stage. We don't want to overwhelm our clients. We don't want to give them a big laundry list of things to do. We want to drip out the to-do list so they don't feel overwhelmed, so they have that feeling, I can do this. I can do this. Remember, our goal here is for them to constantly be thinking, I can do this. Over communicate, give them their next steps, give them the next thing that they need to do and train them on exactly what that is, how to reach you, what that looks like, but give them the one next step so that they don't feel overwhelmed. Okay, that is what you are doing in your onboarding phase. And you are doing it really imperfectly at first, especially if you haven't done this a bunch of times before. It's going to feel really imperfect. It might feel a little bit clunky, but know that putting a little bit of thought into this is going to set up your clients for such success. And then obviously that's going to come back as referrals in your business. Maybe not obviously. I shouldn't assume that that's obvious, but let me just say this will come back as referrals in your business because your clients will get better results and they will tell all their people about it. Okay. So as you are reflecting on everything we just talked about here in the onboarding section of the client journey, here's what I want you to ask yourself. What do I want my clients to feel immediately after paying? Maybe it's a little bit different than what I suggested, but I want you to put a little thought into that. What do I want the experience to be? What do I want them to be feeling? Okay, people make decisions emotionally. How do we want them to be feeling? And then how can you reinforce their purchasing decision so they feel that emotion within 72 hours, absolute max, hopefully a little bit less than that? How can you do that? Brainstorm a little bit. Then what are 1 to 2 things maximum that should be their next steps to do right away? When you're onboarding your clients, you can't give them 5 to 10 things that they need to do next in a long checklist. They will look at that and they will have a meltdown internally and think, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard. Oh no, what have I done? We don't want that. We don't want overwhelm. We need to have 1 to 2 things maximum that are their next steps. Which brings us to what we're going to talk about in activation, and that's giving them a quick win. So you want to have 1 to 2 things max. How will I gather their communication preferences to set the expectation for further communication and make that smoother in the long run? These are all questions I want you to ask yourself and answer those before we move into the activation stage. Phase 2, activation. So now you've put some thought into your onboarding phase of your client journey. We're getting into activation. What the heck does activation mean? Activation, as I am going to define that for us, because I think with the health and wellness business, this is the most useful definition of it. Activation is delivering the first win. Big air quotes on win. This could be a lot of different things, which we're going to talk about, but it is that first feeling where the client goes, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Look at me. I'm doing it. And the reason this is so important to think through is because we want this win to happen as fast as possible. So if you were in like the sales and marketing world as a whole, this would be defined as time to value. So if you've ever heard that phrase before, time to value, that's what we're talking about as the activation point here. If you've never heard that before, then don't worry about it. Just think about activation. What's the activation point? What is the first win? What is that first moment where a shift occurs with this client and they feel different? They do something different. They take action for a certain amount of time continuously, and that creates a shift. What is it? This is where you have to put a little bit of thought in. Again, remember, I told you we were going to do a little bit of boring work here, but this is really going to pay off, I promise. So do it. What is this tipping point? For my clients, I know that the time to value for them is when they feel like they are a business owner. When they go from, oh, I do this on the side, this is a hobby, to I'm a business owner. People pay me for this. I'm a business owner. So how we track that is when they either report I'm a business owner, because people literally say this to me, or they get their first 4 clients. That's the tipping point, typically where people go, oh my gosh, I'm a business owner. So I know this. Therefore, I structure my business to get people to their first 4 clients as fast as possible and to get them to that realization where they say the words I'm a business owner as fast as possible. Because I know that that first win or that first mindset shift is everything. It sets the stage for all of the rest of the relationship that we will have. So I ask, what is that for you? What is that tipping point for your people? Again, this could be emotional. It could be a mindset shift. It could be an identity shift. It could be something that feels really intangible, but then you have to have a mechanism in place to measure it and to make it tangible. So we're going to talk about that in a second, okay? It could be something that is really easy to track, really measurable already. Maybe something's coming up for you. I know that a lot of clients that I work with have a hard time with this at first because they're trying to think through what is a health change that every single one of my clients could make and how could they make it quickly. And the truth is that probably doesn't exist because everybody's different. Everyone's situation is different. Everybody's body's different. We know that. So don't let yourself get hung up thinking this has to be lose 5 pounds or this has to be something very specific that every single person is going to do exactly the same way. Like robots, that's not how this works. What we're looking for more is to zoom out and think, okay, how could I be using some intake tools, some self-reporting that I have them do at every session or in the program at intervals where they are tracking how they're feeling, how what their mindset is like. How could you standardize this a little bit so that they could be self-reporting to track? If you do lab testing, that is definitely one measure of this. However, you want to be retesting often enough that they can see the progress. So for a lot of my clients that use lab testing, this isn't actually the best way to look at time to value and the activation point because they're not going to retest until further in the future. So I want you to think of using progress forms, using some way that they are self-reporting and you have the mechanisms to track that so that you can be bringing it back to every session that you have or to other parts of your process for them to see how far they have come and for them to see that they have reached the activation point. This is so critical, okay? These early small milestones to get people on like, oh my gosh, this is it. I've done it. I'm doing it. I'm making progress. Holy cow, this is happening. That time to value, that activation point is really important to build belief, okay? It builds momentum. It makes your process easier to follow, which makes it easier to sell, by the way, which has, again, all of those referrals coming back. So though this does not feel like a sales and marketing activity, I promise you it actually is. But you have to define, as the business owner, we all have to do this. We have to figure out what are the milestones and how do I make them measurable? Because if your clients don't know that they reached the milestone, it's not helping anybody, okay? If you don't build this into your process, your clients will assume that they aren't making any progress at all. Do you know how I know that? Because they are humans with human brains, and our human brains skew negative. Our human brains forget all of the good that has happened and only thinks about the bad. I'm generalizing there and I'm making big, bold statements, but for the most part, this is true. We forget how far we've come. And we're looking ahead and we're looking at that goal line ahead and it's so far away and all we can think about is how far we have to go and we forget to look back and see how far that we've come. Forget that. So our job as the business owner, your job as the practitioner is to remind your clients how far they've come and have a mechanism in place to track that through achievable milestones. So this is where you're going to think through, okay, what is that tipping point? What's that activation point? Is it them consistently doing a small new habit for a few days or for a week? And if that is, in theory, the tipping point for them where they realize, holy cow, I just didn't have sugar for a week. Oh my gosh, that just happened. I didn't have sugar for 3 days. I tracked my something for 3 days, whatever that is. That could be your activation point. But when you decide what that is, now you are going to have every like all roads lead to Rome, every road is going to lead to them achieving that as quickly as possible. So in your process, in this stage, in this activation stage, your communication with them, your process, what you are doing with your client in this stage is to get them to achieve this early, trackable, big win milestone. Could be a little win, but it feels like a big win to them, okay? The reason for that is because it will build the momentum to keep going. So this isn't to try to get them to the end of the finish line as quickly as possible. You will overwhelm your clients. And I see people do this all the time thinking, okay, I have the client paid me, the client trusts me. I know it's possible. I am going to throw everything at this client and I'm going to support them and I'm going to be here cheerleading them and I'm going to teach them everything that I know so that they have all of the information and this is going to be so amazing for them. And what the client receives is, this is very overwhelming. Oh my gosh, this is so hard. I'm not doing any of this very well. I'm not consistent in any of this. I don't even remember what I was supposed to be doing. And they shut down, because this is what we do as humans. We get overwhelmed, we shut down, we can only think about the things that we aren't doing that well. We can only think about the things that are undone. We can only think about how far we have left to go. And this is when people will fall off. This is when clients will a month or two into the process, they will email you and say, something has come up. Sorry, can't keep going. Thanks for all your help, but also I'm not continuing. This happens. Well, why does it happen? It's because they are overwhelmed and they don't see the progress. So your job is to set up a process for them to see the progress. And you're doing that through setting up these milestones. So what is their first win or their first mindset shift or their first habit? And how consistent are you going to measure them being with that? Well, ultimately they're going to measure it, but then they're going to report it to you. And how are you celebrating this? And how will they know that they have reached this activation point? What is that? What's the first little win? What's the first part of it? And then how can you make it easier or faster to get there? Think about this and then figure out, how am I going to measure it? How are they going to track it? How am I going to track it for them? How are we reporting this progress? What is that going to look like? So that we know that it has happened, so we can celebrate, they know that it's happened, and we can build on that momentum. Because a lot of times, I see this with my clients, a lot of times their clients are getting insane results. They're amazing. The practitioner is like, oh, this is so good. Look at everything that's happening. I can see how far they've come. And then that client ghosts, or that client unexpectedly quits, or something happens and they're so confused. But when we really dig into it, what happened is the client didn't realize that they were making progress. They didn't realize that all this good stuff was happening because they forgot where they started. They forgot. So it's our job in this process to get them to the activation point as quickly as possible. And then the real fun begins, where we go into phase 3, which is retention. So phase 3, as you can imagine, is where you are going to deliver the rest of the milestones in your process. And you are going to know what those milestones are. And when I say milestones, I want you to think measurable. 2 M's put up together, always the alliteration. Milestones have to be measurable. They cannot be vague. There cannot be a gray area here for you or for the client to think, have I done this? Did I accomplish that? Did that happen? You need to figure out how you are going to make these milestones measurable and how you are going to track the progress of these clients so that they know that they are reaching all of the milestones, not just the activation point, but now we're moving forward into the rest of the process. So you need to figure out, what are those milestones, okay? In this retention phase, this is where the clients are doing the work. This is longer term. This is where they are feeling like they're winning. And that doesn't mean that they're always getting the exact results that they want. No, it's your job as the practitioner, as the business owner, to normalize the fact that they won't always feel like they're winning, but that doesn't mean that they aren't winning, okay? This is our job. We know that somebody's health journey and that the results that they're going to get is not linear. Wouldn't it be so nice if it was? Wouldn't it be so great if we could just start here and do all the things like the perfect recipe and build it and then get to where we want to go and it's all linear and we just every step of the way know that the progress is being made? Wouldn't it be so fun? It would. It's also completely unrealistic and not the way that the world works. It doesn't work that way in business. It doesn't work that way with my clients. It doesn't work that way in health with your clients. It just doesn't work that way. So our job as the business owner is to normalize the ups and downs, to set realistic expectations for the process, and to show the client, even when it feels like they're not winning, that they actually are winning. This goes back to what we talked about in the activation stage, which is we have to be showing them that progress is being made, because they're going to forget it. They're going to forget that for the rest of the relationship as you work with them as well, because that's how our brains work. So just know that, know thyself, know thy clients, and build it into the process, okay? Have realistic expectations for you to have for the client to have for the client, and just continually normalize the fact that it's not always going to be linear, and that's totally okay. Nothing has gone wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. My clients always laugh in the Profitable Nutritionist program where I teach this. We always laugh about how often in coaching situations and on coaching calls and stuff that we say, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. So you can borrow that and say that for your clients too. Like this thing is happening. I'm not getting the results I want, and it's not a problem. That's part of it. So we're going to evaluate and we're going to tweak a few things and we're going to keep moving forward. That's okay. That's That's realistic expectations for how the process goes with your clients. But they will know because of these measurable milestones where they are in the process. And that really calms down their brain that there is something that they're working towards, that you're in it with them together, and that they're going to get there. So these are checkpoints. I think of like you adding in checkpoints. This is an opportunity for you to do that within the milestones. Again, have assessment. Some of my clients use something called the nutritional assessment questionnaire. It's called the NAC. That's what I use as an NTP. Have that built in here, multiple places. Have reviews, have conversations about what's working, what isn't working, and how you're going to tweak it and move forward all through this journey. Have it built in to your process. No, it's like standardize this. I have my clients, when we do this, when we create their process that they're going to bring their clients through, we do this like a version 1 earlier in the business. And then what you're seeing is how we do this and kind of tweak it in the more advanced version. But in the earliest version of it, it's like, how are you going to start every session celebrating what is going well and making the client figure out where they are winning, because they need to report back to you what is going well, and their brain is probably thinking nothing. A lot of times that is. It's not always the case, but a lot of times it is. So how are you going to like draw out the evidence that things are working, they are winning, and then what isn't working as well, and make a strategy for moving forward. But having that evaluation process just as part of the cadence of any session that you run with your clients, or in a group program or in a digital program, regardless of where that is, having that as like a checkpoint where they're analyzing and you're in there helping as well and recalibrating, saying, okay, this is what we're doing next, this is what we're doing next, and here's why. That is going to set them up for success in this retention phase of the process, where they can see the progress is being made, even when sometimes it isn't that obvious, okay? But that's your job as the practitioner, to help them do that. Some people do this really innately well, and if that's you and you're watching this, you're like, well, of course. But others don't. Others of us get really hard on ourselves when we see that the clients aren't having the results and they're not coming to every single session reporting, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing in my life. And we think that that's a problem, and it's not a problem, okay? But we're going to build in these checkpoints to keep the momentum. You can do this in lots of different ways, but habit tracking, I think, is a great way to do that. So you can celebrate consistency and you can celebrate new habits that are getting adopted, even if the other results are not evident yet. But you know that you're trending towards that. Like, let's celebrate progress as far as consistency, compounding, and that kind of thing. So you can think in terms of that when you're thinking of checkpoints and things that you can evaluate. But also, okay, last thing I'm going to say. I was going to go in a different direction. I'm not going to do that. Last thing I'm going to say. Even if the way you support each client is different, the container and the big picture for the process that you bring them through doesn't change. So I know in this stage, when I'm talking about retention with my clients and we're workshopping this, some of them get really granular about like, but it's different. The process is different from each client. But it isn't, okay? Zoom out and think about how the container of your offer, however it is that you support clients, can that be consistent? How can that be predictable? How can the milestones be consistent along the way? This is going to help you to make a really good process that doesn't feel so heavy for you. So as the practitioner, you are not reinventing the wheel with every single client. There are going to probably be, if you work with clients one-on-one, there are going to be aspects of that are very personalized and customized and different per client, but not every single aspect of it, okay? So think about, even if the content changes, even if the delivery changes a little bit due to client differences, how is the container actually the same? How can I set a standard there for how I deliver this? That's going to help you take on more clients and serve them at a higher level longer term. Okay, so what are your questions in the retention stage? What should you be asking yourself? I would say, and this is what's in the included workbook for this, what checkpoints help clients feel continual progress? What will that be? I mean, yes, there's information that you want, but also what is the information that they need to be reminded of? That because they will believe themselves when they say it, they may not believe you when you say it. So how can you ask them questions and have mechanisms in place for them to report progress that they're making so that they can see that? Does that make sense? Second to that, how can you help them celebrate and recognize wins more consistently? How can you do that? Because this is ultimately what is going to have them thinking, I can do this. Look at me, I'm doing it. I can keep doing this. I can keep going. Which brings us to, how can you set reasonable expectations for highs and lows? Because it absolutely will happen, so that your clients don't feel discouraged when they aren't seeing the wins. When they're in the lows, how can that just feel like it's part of the process instead of something going drastically wrong? How can you set that up for success? and what systems could help them stay more compliant and more engaged. If anything comes up for you around that, dive into it a little bit. Explore what could that look like. So now let's transition into phase 4. Okay, this is an important part of the client journey because this is where you are going to increase the customer lifetime value. If you are unfamiliar with that term, as a business owner, I want you to get familiar with that term, because what this means is how much money is this customer bringing into your business over the lifetime of that customer. Hopefully, you are not only selling one thing to one customer one time. And the reason for that is because it is so much easier to resell a current client or a current customer that already has affinity with you, that already knows, likes, and trusts you and is getting results. It is so much easier to sell something else to that person than it is to bring in a fresh, cold lead or a new customer. To acquire a new customer is harder to do than reselling an existing customer. That's what I want to say there. So thinking in terms of what is the lifetime value of this customer is a really good question to ask. And that means that we need to ask, how does that person purchase more from you? What does that look like? And are you exploring all opportunities for that person to purchase more from you? Some of the clients I work with don't do this at all, and this is really a light bulb moment for them. So let's talk about it. What can this look like? It can look like your clients renewing with you for the existing offer that you already have. They just renew and you resell them the same offer. And that is a great place to start if you don't have other continuity offers in your business. And for a really simple business model, this is what most of my clients do, especially at the beginning of their business, is they just resell the same offer to the client again. They're getting great results. They want to keep working with them. They resell them the same thing. Okay, before we move forward though, I know that I was going to wait to say this, but I'm going to just say it now. I know that your brain could be really having a little bit of a tantrum and thinking, oh my gosh, but if they were supposed to get results the first time, why would they keep working with me? Well, that's why we're talking about this, and that is what you are going to explore, okay? Why would they keep working with you? I'm thinking of a client of mine that does this really, really well. She has a 3-month offer of nutritional therapy, and she sells the clients the first 3 months, but she tells them in the sales process before they've even purchased, she's talking about them with talking about their big goals with them. She's bringing them through the exercise that I kind of laid out earlier, where they're talking about what are the results that would really blow your mind. I know what these acute results are that you want, but like longer term, what could this look like? What would just blow your mind if we could achieve it later, maybe a year from now? What would that look like? And so she has them thinking in those terms, even before they've purchased from her. When they purchase her 3-month offer, she's talking every step of the way about how after 3 months, they can focus on XYZ. They can focus on XYZ, maybe in 6 months, maybe in 9 months, it'll look like this. And almost every single client of hers, and she has a very full practice, renews with her after the first 3 months and into the 9-month range. Every single one, almost without exception, because it doesn't come as a surprise to them that they can continue working with her. And they had the expectation up front that they were going to have amazing results. They are going to see a lot of relief in their systems. We are going to get to these first milestones, but there's likely going to be a lot that you are going to keep working on because you have these big goals of this amazing health that you want to have, whatever that looks like for the client, fill in the blanks here. And so it has been foreshadowed that they can keep working together afterwards as well. And most of them are then thinking in those terms the entire time that they're going through the process with her for the first 3 months. So it is not a surprise to them at all that that opportunity to renew is available, and they've already been planning on doing that. They're getting amazing results. On the sessions that she has with her clients, she's talking about, oh my gosh, look at how far you've come. Look at this progress. She's weaving that in. And then she's also telling them, we don't need to be even worried about this big result that you want to get in the future. That's looking like it's inevitable because of look at how much progress you're making. Now, there's a way to do this and stay within your scope of practice, and don't, I assume that you have the discernment to figure out how to do that, but I'm just setting the stage here that a renewal conversation doesn't happen on the last session that you have with your client. But a lot of people do that, okay? They think, well, I'm not going to be salesy with them. I don't want them to feel pressured, like we have to keep working together, and I don't want to make this weird, so I'm not going to have any sales conversation with them again until the very last session. Then I'll tell them, well, if you want to keep working together, here's what we can do. And then that's when they present the option to keep working together. But the reason that doesn't work very well for most people is because that client has already been feeling the pinch that they're almost done. They've been already feeling like, oh my gosh, I have so much I still want to do. I haven't used this time to the maximum that I wanted to. I haven't maximized it. I haven't maximized the resources. They're probably really hard on themselves already about what they should have done or how they should do it differently, or we're almost done. And so they have not prepared themselves to continue working. They've already decided it's over. And so from that point of view of this is over, I've already decided, I have a contingency plan of what I'm going to do afterwards. They're not thinking about continuing working with you at that point. Now, sometimes they do. So sometimes that still works. However, I would say that in this situation, you want to be talking about how people can continue to renew with you with whatever offer that looks like early and often. You want to set the stage for that early in the relationship so they know what's coming, so they feel well prepared, so they can ask questions far in advance, so they can be planning financially, so they can be planning with just calming their brain. When I was talking to that client that I told you about, who does an excellent job of this, and almost every single client of hers renews like indefinitely, she said, yeah, it just calms their brain down, and they tell me, oh my gosh, I feel so much better knowing that we can keep working together. I don't feel like I'm in such a rush now. And they're able to sink into the process, and they're able to better weather the highs and lows that come with any health journey, as we all know, because they don't feel like the clock is ticking. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So I offer that as part of stage 4 here of thinking about, how do I resell my clients? What is that a different offer? Is it the same offer? What does that look like? But how can you, from a business perspective, how can you maximize that customer lifetime value and increase the customer lifetime value of them paying you for a longer amount of time and getting deeper, better, even more meaningful results with you? What can that look like? If you have not explored that in your business yet, it's very, very important that you do, so you can build it into the process in the beginning and you can be working towards that. Now, some people don't resell into their initial offer. That doesn't make sense for their business model. And instead they have a different offer that they upsell into. So that means this is like the next offer that somebody would be qualified for after they work with you. Same rules apply here. Okay. If that is the case, then let people know early and often what they're working towards and what that's going to look like, so they can be thinking about it. We don't want to sell people at the very end of their package. We want people to be thinking about that and being excited about it and working towards that much earlier. A great time to upsell someone is when they have a big win. Okay. It's not when they feel like this isn't working. It's not when they feel like, oh my gosh, I have to be done now. I've already planned that this relationship was over and I'm already down on myself about that. That's not the time. It's when they're having a win and talking about it early and often. That is what you want to do. So upselling can increase your revenue without adding more delivery work when you do this strategically, okay? Because you are spending so much less time in your business on marketing, on selling, because you're just selling the same person that already is getting great results. So that is a very efficient process. But also, when you do this well with your upsell, you can capitalize on all of the information that you already have about the client, because you already have worked with them. You already know so much about their situation. So it isn't as cumbersome in some of the upsell offers that I see my clients have. It isn't as cumbersome for them. Maybe they don't even charge as much. It depends on the business model. But the reason for that is because they've already done, it's been so front loaded. They've already done so much work with the client in the beginning that they're able to have a different upsell offer that actually is very profitable for their business, because it is less delivery work and less marketing, honestly. So consider an upsell offer if your business is mature enough to handle it. Like I said, in the beginning of a business, I just highly recommend reselling the same offer, and don't worry about having a different graduate. Some people call it like an alumni offer or something like that. Yes, that is good to work towards, but if your business is not well established yet, don't even worry about that. Just resell the same offer. Great. It's a great first step to work towards there. Now, another way that you can upsell is not even with an offer that you necessarily deliver, but this can be through products that you have commission that you make off of the product. I'm thinking like a lot of my clients that use FullScript for supplements or for products that they believe in that they get paid commission on. That is something to also think about in stage 4. This is how you are, again, maximizing the customer lifetime value, increasing the customer lifetime value. So you are making more money in your business from the clients that already trust you, that already are here. They're already paying attention. They want to purchase from you. They want to take your recommendations. Are you making money from that? Are you making enough money from that? I have to say it because I see so many people that, for example, have a full script account or another dispensary account for the supplements that they recommend to their clients. And instead of making commission on that, they just pass their discount on to the client. Now, that's a strategy that can work, and it also can be a nice over deliver for the client, but is it necessary? I just question that a little bit because I see that it usually comes from a place of scarcity from that business owner and thinking that they can't possibly expect that client to pay more or to pay full price, or lots of mind drama that comes up around that, and that I could coach on that later. But for this purpose, I just would say, are there products that you have an affiliate relationship with or that you can earn commission on that you're already recommending to your clients, and you could set up a mechanism for getting paid on those? And if so, please do that. Okay, please, please, please do that. The profitability of your business really would thank you for doing that. So that's an easy win for a lot of people and kind of low-hanging fruit. But that is what we have for stage 4. How are you upselling, or how are you renewing existing clients to increase that customer lifetime value? So here are the questions that you're going to ask yourself. First of all, do you have a clear renewal offer or a continuation offer? Is that clear to you? Because if it isn't clear to you, it's for sure not going to be clear to that client on how they move forward with you and what the future looks like. They can't plan ahead for that, and you certainly can't plan ahead for that unless you've made that decision and you have clarity in your own brain on that. So that's step 1. Then step 2 is, how and when are you going to introduce the option to those clients? In this journey that we are outlining here, when are you going to start talking about that to them? Is it even before the purchase? Because their journey did start before they pushed pay, even though that's what we're focusing on in this video. Is it in your marketing? Is it in your sales process elsewhere that you are actually starting them on the introduction to this continuity offer? I don't know, but you should know, so you decide. Then also, are there upsells or product recommendations that you're already making that you're missing getting paid on? Is that showing up for you? Does that feel like a little bell is ringing? Okay, if so, dig into that a little bit. And lastly, I want you to answer what keeps your clients excited about continuing and how can you support that? Yes, that might be a little bit different person to person, but how can you pull that out of them? How can part of this process and this journey that you bring them through be getting them excited about continuing and about the future and about maybe opportunities that they have not looked into before, they haven't dared hope for before? Depending on what kind of clients you work with, their future might be kind of bleak to them. How are you getting them excited about what's going to be ahead for them? It's part of the process. How can you support them in that? So let's put pen to paper on this and actually make some decisions, okay? The 4 phases of your client journey: the onboarding, the activation, the retention, and the renewal/upsell phase. Let's put it to work for you right now. You already have a copy of the outline document that's a Google Doc to fill out for each of these 4 phases. So all of the prompts that I gave you, all of the exercises that I brought you through to think through, you already have that in a Google Doc, okay? So you can brain dump every client interaction that you have. That's the starting point here. And you figure out, okay, what part of the journey is this in? Do I have this in the right place? Am I doing this in the right order? Is this working well, or is it confusing? If so, what could be improved here? How may I be unnecessarily or unintentionally overwhelming my clients? Remember, overwhelm is the number 1 reason that people quit. It's the number 1 reason that people talk themselves out of continuing to make the progress that they've already started making, is because they feel overwhelmed and they get in their own way. So how can you make sure that your process isn't overwhelming? That's the biggest question here. How can you make it less overwhelming, simpler, easier for them, so they constantly have the thought, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. All right, make it simpler, make it faster for yourself, and then it's going to be simpler and faster for the clients. So we have, again, this outline that we've already created where you can manually go through and answer all of the questions and make your client journey map through all of these 4 stages and get all of the ideas that you probably have kind of been thinking of onto paper so that you can actually execute it. But I want to suggest that this is even, or could be even, simpler and faster and easier for you, because my team and I created something just for you, just for this workshop, to make it even easier. It is our Client Journey Mapping GPT, which if you've never heard of a custom GPT before, you are in for a treat. This is a totally free AI tool that we used to train on our best practices and what we've seen work for literally thousands of health and wellness practitioners by this point, to optimize your client journey from the onboarding to the renewal and upsell stage. And we uploaded it all into an AI tool for you totally for free, so you can use this tool to actively brainstorm all of the ideas that probably have come up as you've watched this video, and so that you can create a doable plan for actually implementing it strategically. Now, again, you have the manual version in the Google Doc. You can go do this step by step yourself, but if you would like to do it a lot faster and a lot easier, I'm going to invite you to use this free tool that we created just for you. So to do that, you are going to click the link somewhere below this video. There will be a link for the Client Journey Mapping GPT tool. Click that link, follow the instructions on the page that it will bring you to, and within 20 seconds, you're going to be inside the AI tool and able to start brainstorming on this. All right, my friend, let's land this plane here with a final action item for creating your client journey. I want you to take all of the ideas that you have and anything that you create with the custom AI tool that we made for you, or with the Google Doc as you start to create this journey and take all of your ideas and put them into a plan. I want you to take a deep breath and spread it out, okay? Start right away. Start this week, start right now, but also don't try to do all of this immediately, because we did just go through a lot. The purpose of this is for you to see the big picture and you to see all 4 stages so that you can see how they work together, and how actually doing a dedicated client journey like this and putting some thought and attention into it is going to make it such a better experience for your clients, so that they stay engaged, so that they don't fall off, so that they get better results and continue to renew and continue to pay you and send all the referrals your way. But with that being said, it is not going to be realistic to do all of this at once. So don't try to, okay? Keep it simple. Make a very doable plan for yourself to maybe do one improvement each week. Maybe take one chunk to do each week over the course of a few months, or even spread it out longer if that is what you need to do in your schedule. Make progress at it, but don't feel like this is something that you are going to just create overnight. Okay, you have to keep it simple for yourself, just like we don't want to overwhelm your clients, and we don't want to give them a to-do list that's 10 items long and expect them to just go tackle it. Don't do that to yourself either, okay? All right, my friend, if this workshop helped you connect the dots on why your clients may not be getting the results that you know are possible for them and how to fix it, your next step is to take action. Start with just one improvement this week. Like I said, don't try to do this all at once. It's not possible, and it's just going to discourage you. Don't do that. Okay, don't do that. Aim for clarity with just a few things that you can tick off each week, and this will build out over time. Okay, if you are a holistic nutritionist or a health coach and you are ready to implement all of this with support and done for you tools and more coaching and a more step-by-step process, I would love to invite you into the Profitable Nutritionist program, which is exactly what we do in the program. You can learn more about the TPN program. You can even book a short sales call to discuss whether or not it'd be a good fit for you. We'll jump on together and I will give you an honest assessment of your business and how we can help you. Do that at theprofitablenutritionist.com/join. Or to make it really easy, you could just send an email to hello@theprofitablenutritionist.com with a little bit of info about you and your business goals, and we'll get back to you with how we can help. Want to make this just very simple and doable for you. Again, I don't want to overwhelm you with too many to-dos in your client journey. But if any of this is resonating and you're like, yep, I need a little bit of more of this kind of strategy in my business, I need to be maximizing the customer lifetime value without adding more to my plate, that is exactly what we do at TPN. We'd love to help you.
NANP members can earn 1 continuing education credit for participating in Scoop Masterclasses by taking the corresponding quiz, which can be found in the Learning Center of your My NANP dashboard.